Hey everyone, okay, so today's video is very different to my normal videos. It's not makeup related and it's going to be much longer. If you don't want to watch, I completely understand. The reason I'm making this video, and I've never talked about this to anyone else before, is that I'm looking for some help or some understanding, and I'm hoping that there are other people out there who have been through a similar situation, who have found help. When I was 24 years old, which was 15 years ago, I started to notice all of a sudden that I was needing to go to the toilet more, as in urinating. It was just becoming more frequent, and it was strange because I'd never experienced that before. Everything was always fine. About a week in, it was becoming more and more apparent I was needing to go to the toilet, and it was just like, I can't explain it, you just need to go. Not urgency like you're going to pee yourself, but just frequently needing to go to the toilet. I went to the doctors and they did a pee test and it was negative, there was no infections. So he said, oh, it's an overactive bladder. Now bearing in mind I was 24 years old and it was just this sudden onset of it. It wasn't a gradual progression. So I took the tablets for a week and they gave me the most intense lower back pain, sort of kidney pain. So we stopped them. By that time, that other week had passed and the symptoms were now becoming very extreme. I was going all the time and I was now experiencing incredible burning with it. So back to the doctors, more urine tests, everything is fine. So they tried me on more tablets. They didn't work either. And during this time, I was explaining to the doctor that this didn't feel like my bladder. It felt like the urethra. There was something wrong. But all the urine tests were coming out negative, so there was nothing there. So time moves on, and during that period, these symptoms were so painful and so intense that I was getting up 8 to 10 times a night. And it was absolutely horrific. The frequency, the feeling of needing to urinate and the pain associated with it. And nothing was being done. Nothing was being found. All the urine tests were coming back negative. This is an overactive bladder. And I knew it wasn't. So I go to a private urologist to have a consultation. He does urine tests. They're negative. He scans my bladder. It looks fine. I'm then sent for a cystoscopy, which is where they put a camera down the urethra and have a look into the bladder. And the urethra, they were like, no, there's nothing there. From that period onwards, you're going to fast forward now to about 10 months. So from the onset of this up until then, which was a full year, I was in an absolute misery with this. And there was no hope. They gave me amitriptyline because that's supposed to help with the pain. And they kept upping the dose, so I was like a zombie. But I was still in this pain and I was still going to the toilet. I wasn't sleeping because I was getting up. So I go back and asked to see another doctor, just a random other doctor. And thankfully it was a female doctor because they always seem so much nicer. I explained to her all my symptoms. She did something that my doctors hadn't done, or the private doctor. She did a swab test. And that was it. She did the swab test and then she comes back and says, you have a bacterial infection of the urethra. And it was just like for a whole year, no one had found this. And all it took was a single swab test. If they'd done that in the beginning, we may not be here today with this story. So she comes back, you have a bacterial infection of the urethra. Now, an STI was ruled out immediately because it would have been an absolute miracle to have got one since I hadn't done anything for a very long time. And they ruled that out immediately, and I knew it wasn't that. Her summation of it was, we don't know what caused it, but it could have been a soap, a detergent, a body wash. She didn't know, but we'd found it and we were going to cure it. So she gives me a course of antibiotics these last 2 weeks. On the third day of taking them, I slept the entire night. I didn't get up once, which was just amazing. On the 5th day, all the symptoms disappeared. They were all gone. And on the 6th day, the symptoms came back, but they were different. I had the same frequency, the same irritating feeling in the urethra, the same needing to go to the toilet. But at night when I went to sleep, I could sleep the entire night. So from my waking hours, I was needing to go to the toilet, but when I lay down to sleep, I just slept. After the 2 weeks I went back, they did more swab tests, everything was negative, there was nothing left. But I explained my symptoms and she put me on another 2-week course of antibiotics, a different one, and I took those. But my symptoms persisted. The frequent need to urinate, the uncomfortable feeling that you need to urinate. And it's not like, even if my bladder is empty, the urge to go comes and I can still manage to pass water. And this is constant. So here we are 15 years later. During that period, I've gone into what I call intermittent remission, which means my symptoms suddenly start to dissipate. And then they are almost, but never quite, but are almost more normal. Then I'm suddenly back to square one again for no apparent reason. This is where it gets complicated. 6 years ago, I went back to that doctor because she was so nice. And I explained to her what was happening. And at that point, it was so bad that I felt like I was just had enough of everything. And she did another swab test and she said, look, everything is coming out negative. There's nothing here. We don't know what caused it. We're sorry, but there's nothing here. And I got up and left and I walked outside and waited for my bus. And then the strangest thing happened. I didn't need to go to the toilet. The feeling that had been with me for all that time, because it had flared up, had just gone. Just like that, it had disappeared. The moment she said, you're okay, it just vanished. And it was at that point that I started to think that maybe there was something going on inside my mind that was triggering these reactions within my body. Because I'd spent a full year with a full-blown infection that no one could find. And it was like the trauma of that had left an imprint, had left a muscle memory of that condition. And something was triggering it. Now, I don't know if this is true, but that's how it feels. A couple of years ago, to illustrate that point, I had an argument with somebody over Christmas and I couldn't rectify that situation that day. And during that day, I could feel this intense pain and needing to go to the toilet and burning, and it was horrific. It was so bad that day. The next day, I dealt with that argument and I could literally feel the pain go like this, and it just evaporated. And that's why I'm making this video, because I honestly don't know anymore what is going on with my body. The last month I've had what I call a flare-up, and I don't know if it's stress. I don't know what it is because I'm not stressed. And it is horrible. You are constantly uncomfortable. You are constantly needing to go to the toilet and there is no help. And I'm smart enough to know that if this is something that's been triggered in my mind, if my mind is playing tricks on me or playing tricks on my body, maybe that is now what it is, because there was that infection and now it's gone. But if that is what it is, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go for help. I have companies that say, do you want to come to London? Do you want to go and do this? We'd love to meet with you. We'd love to talk this over with you. Or my agents will say, we need you to go here or here. And I always decline. I'm like, no, I don't want to go. Because to be in that situation with a group of people and you've got this intense urge, especially if it's flared up, you're like, I can't put myself in that situation. It's not that I'm going to wet myself. It's never urgency, it's frequency. And you're constantly uncomfortable and you're constantly moving because there's this pain. So it controls my life and has done on and off for 15 years now, because it comes and goes in waves. And this one has stayed for a month and it's been a real joy. And I'm hoping that there's someone out there who has been through a similar situation where there was something and it's gone, but it's left something. The pain of it is still there. And I would love for you to speak to me about it, because I literally feel at my wit's end. This Thursday, I'm going to see another urologist, and that will be it. I'm done then, because I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do, and I'm constantly uncomfortable. And I've had enough of it, to be honest with you. I'm 39 years old, and this has been going on since I was 24. And I'm pissed that all that time, that whole year, not one person listened when I said, it doesn't feel like it's the bladder. My bladder isn't hurting. It's not a full bladder syndrome. There is pain, and you're not looking in the right area. And it was like none of them gave a shit. And it makes me so angry when I look back at it. So if anyone has had similar issues as me or knows what might be going on inside me, I would love to hear it. Please be nice on the comments. Please be constructive, please. Because it's been a really, really shit month, and just be nice on the comments, please. And if any of you can help with what is going on, or you've been through a similar experience, I would love to hear about it, because something is very, very wrong and I need to fix it because I have had enough. Thank you, and I'm going to go now and do what I do best. And that's it. I'm going to have a wee, because I can do that, and I can do that really good. And I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.